I move that we acknowledge the Honorable Lito Atienza of Buhay Party List to interpellate our Speaker.
The Honorable Atienza is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. And at the outset, let me congratulate the gentleman from Bataan for taking up the issue of the VAT in Congress. Kapag ayon sa report niya, ay maraming dapat ayusin para tunay na pakinabangan ng VAT ng ating sambayanan, ng ating ekonomiya, at ng ating mga mamamayan. Did I get you right when you mentioned that the VAT is not essentially succeeding in its mission to increase collection and benefits for the citizens and the taxpayer? You mentioned about the weakening and the lessening collection of VAT in the country today. Did you mean that?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Based on the data that we collected from the Bureau of Internal Revenue, as I mentioned earlier, the loophole is in the input tax, Mr. Speaker. If we show again the table on the input tax versus the output tax for the past 12 years, the input tax as of 2019, this is a running total, is now higher by 47% over the output tax, which means businesses are able to use their input tax to lower their output tax payments to the government. And second, Mr. Speaker, according also to BAR estimates, out of the 12% VAT that is collected, only 3% actually go to the government.
Gentleman from Bataan, we would like to assure you that we are equally concerned with the ineffectivity of the VAT to fulfill the promised benefits when it was first crafted and passed into law. Kung bumababa man ang halaga ng nakokolekta sa VAT at nawawala na ito ng bisa katulad ng pinlano ng mga may-akda nito, isa sa mga kadahilanan, and I'm sure the gentleman would agree with our observation, that the collection may not be at its optimum level simply because the BIR today and yesteryears has not done correctly their mission to implement and force the VAT in favor of the general economy of the country and beneficial to all, especially the local communities. Tayo'y pinatawan ng 10% additional tapos ginawang 12%. Subalit, yung benepisyo para sa lokal ay hindi nila ibinigay kailanman. Are you familiar with that, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. In the case of our city in Bataan, we were able to receive around an estimate of 500,000 from VAT in 2015 and 2017. I think may condition sila, Mr. Speaker, on when they're able to give a share of the VAT with the local government unit. And so far, the past 5 years, we were only able to receive it 2015 and 2017 around 500,000 pesos, if I'm not mistaken.
The law creating the VAT very clearly provides that the local government units, from the beginning of the implementation of the VAT, the local government units and the local communities should have been benefiting from the collection. And that has not been done. Alam po ninyo, malaking halaga. Probably tens of billions or maybe hundreds of billions of pesos have not been remitted for the benefit of the local governments. And that may be the reason why collection is going down and the interest of the participants, particularly the local government units, is not working for the benefit of a successful VAT collection. Nung umpisa, kailan po ba natin inumpisa ng VAT? Would you remember?
Kung hindi pa ako nagkakamali, Mr. Speaker, this was started around 1988. The value-added tax for the Philippines.
Ano pong taon?
1988, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Speaker.
19...
88.
Kung naalala ko po, panahon po ito ni Presidente Ramos eh. So, 1998. Subalit, ang batas ay malinaw. Yung koleksyon ng unang taon, dapat may bahagi na lokal. Pero ang pinakamalaking bahagi ay yung between the first and the second year. Because the increment between the 2 years, inilalaan po ng batas na 50%, kalahati ng koleksyon, ay dapat bahagi ng local government unit. Hindi po ginawa yan. And thereafter, every year, the VAT should be shared with the local government units so that the collection of this tax is made efficient, more effective, if the locals are involved and part of it. Pero dahil po hindi binibigay yung share ng local, knowing the sentiments of the local officials, why would they collect a tax that burdens people, as you enumerated, additional burden for everyone, when the intention of the law is not being enforced by the national government, starting from President Ramos, President Erap, President Noy Aquino, up to the present president. Wala silang ibinibigay na bahagi sa local government units. So why would the local government units be interested at all in collecting a tax which is not benefiting them? So if you may accept the suggestion of this representation, let's review the law, let's review the implementation of this law, and I think the questions you have propounded this afternoon will be answered. Dahil tinatago nila ang koleksyon, the national government refuses to share this tax to the local units who are supposed to be the arm, the collection arm. They are the implementors of this law. Kaya ginawa ng batas na may share ang local government unit para po naman merong encouragement ang mga local officials na magtrabaho rin. Sapagkat ang koleksyon ng VAT ay pakikinabangan nila sa kanilang local development plan. Pero kung ganito ang ating pinag-usapan at hindi natin titignan ang pagkukulang, the shortcomings of the national leadership, the national government, the BIR in particular, and I would like to invite the gentleman, try to inquire from the BIR the figures that I am citing. You will not be given the privilege of getting an accurate answer, because the continued refusal of the national government to share the VAT collection will mean a continuous, sustained reducing of interest as far as collecting this tax is concerned. So yung magandang pakay ay hindi po nangyayari sapagkat ang bahagi ng kolektor ay hindi po ibinibigay. Pagpasok sa national government yan, humingi ka na accounting, they will not even respond to your letter. So it's time now that you've taken up the issue on the floor, we join you in the interest, but let us look into it from that point of view. The VAT is not shared by the national government as envisioned by the law, creating it so that collection will be continuous. Collection will be coming with more vigor from the local units as they benefit from the collection. While on the other hand, if we don't address that particular problem, I am already stating to the gentleman, his frustrations will continue, as the frustrations on my part also have amounted to an unexplainable sin of the national government. The collection of taxes should always be shared with the local government units. Yan po yung provision ng ating saligang batas. Hindi po IRA lang ang sinashare dapat. All taxes. Yan po ang sabi ng ating konstitusyon. But VAT, as a special law, specifically touches on the issue of sharing, which has never been done. And let us craft an amendment, a resolution to call the attention of the BIR, but creating a national awareness why the VAT is not succeeding, unlike in other countries, because the intention of the law creating it has not been implemented by the BIR. I will join the gentleman with his permission. I'll work with him on this issue because it has long been also my frustration that the good intentions of this particular law has not been felt by the economy nor by the country. But again, congratulations for taking it up. It takes someone like you, knowledgeable and well-intentioned, to take up the issue in this hall of Congress. And we urge our colleagues to join us in this effort, as this will help the economy of the country. Thank you. Congratulations.
I agree, Mr. Speaker, with the Honorable Atienza in looking at the role of the local governments and the share that they're supposed to get from the VAT. But just to clarify, VAT collections from 2008, at least the data that I have, from 2008 to 2019 has increased, no? From 140 billion in 2008, 2019 it's now 406 billion. But the problem is, Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, it should have been much, much higher. As I mentioned, this is only around 3% of the actual VAT payments or taxes that our consumers are paying, whereas it should be hopefully higher, or if not, the full 12%. That's why, Mr. Speaker, I reiterate my position. The best way to go about it is to do away with VAT, move to a simple sales tax system that doesn't have this input tax mechanism that allows businesses to use it as a tax deduction from their VAT payments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, that's the whole point of our interpellation, to get the matter of really probing into the implementation of the VAT for the purpose of knowing why the collection is only in that level when probably it should be 10 times more. Sapagkat ang VAT ay regular 12% of the value of the product or the service. At 12% coming from where it was is a measly sum now compared to what it should be. So the promise of a better economy is not materializing simply because the mechanics involving the local government units is not being enforced. Why? Only the BIR would be able to answer that, and possibly the presidents of the different periods where it was not attended to. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity of being part of this very timely, constructive criticism of how the VAT is being implemented, and it is not done in the right way. Sayang ang pagkakataon. Salamat po.
Mr. Speaker, just in fairness to the Bureau of Internal Revenue, ang main problem with the VAT is they need more equipment, more people, since there are too many voluminous receipts that they have to evaluate and to audit. So yun po yung initial na binigay po sa aming comment, kaya hindi ho nila ma-plug yung mga loophole ng VAT system is because kulang ho sa tao, kulang sa mga kagamitan ang ating Bureau of Internal Revenue.
Let me add, Mr. Speaker, to that, as the gentleman may be influenced by the alibi. Those are alibis for failure. The real reason is that kung short sila ng tao, you can imagine if all local government units in the country, 1,700 municipalities, 100 cities, and so many provinces, and everyone in the Treasury Department of these LGUs would be involved with VAT collection, the figure that he has read to us now will probably be 10 times more. Salamat po.